Welcome back, everybody, to another wonderful metaphysical Monday, Mentorship Monday, all things magical, all things wonderful, all things spiritual. And we have a lot to talk about today with Michelle and Maren. Hi, Maren. How's it going?
Hi, Michelle. It's going good. I've missed you. We didn't get to
I
see you
missed you
last
too.
week.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry,
Yep.
everyone, that we missed you.
Yes.
But we've
I
got
didn't
a
even
good show
post
for you
anything.
today.
Yeah, we
And
do.
you didn't even
We
post
have a
it.
lot to talk about. Like Maren and I are already, we had to hit record because we already started talking because there really is so much going on. And we had a little bit of a family emergency last week, and I'm sure any of you that have been in contact with me know what's going on, but everything's fine. Everything's good. One of my kids had a medical situation, so I was MIA, or should I say I was on mom duty for several days.
Good,
What
more
is that?
important duties to take care of.
MOD, mom on duty. Is that the best way to say it?
Aw,
Mom on duty.
yeah.
That's what I was. I was in mod mode, mom on duty. So I'm back and I am hustling my way through my schedule and my as always I seem to always be on backlog with a lot of things, but that's just kind of how it rolls, right? I'm doing my best to keep myself balanced and to make sure I show up for everything, including myself, every day. So thank you guys for everybody's patience and whatnot. But on to today, on to what is currently going on. What do you think about that? What do you think about the current
OMG.
energy?
I mean, we
Uh-huh.
couldn't have missed a busier week.
Mm-hmm.
Uh We've got what do we have? We have a data breach or internet down. We've got an assassination attempt, and we've got a president running out of the election right before the election, or dropping
Mm-hmm.
out of the election right before the election. Oh my goodness. What is going on? It's
Yeah,
crazy. Crazy,
it is.
crazy, crazy. So we're
It
not
is.
going to get
And
political today, but we're going to
no,
explain the energies that are at
yeah,
play here.
yes. We have so for any of you who have been watching Maren and I for a while, we've talked about timelines here and there. We've talked about timelines shifting. And so just for a little bit of back information, for timelines, so when we are predicting information, when we are bringing forward information, myself in the way that I work, and I won't speak for everyone else, but for most of us, what we're doing is we are putting our energy in the present moment. We're present and we're looking at the potentials. So for me, if I'm looking at something, I'm going to, like, let's say, for example, um, what's a question? Are oranges going to win the race? Okay. Are the oranges going to win? So I would go in and I would tap into the energy of, say, the oranges and the apples and be like, okay, right now the oranges are, say, 40% ahead. So what I mean by that is that energy has more of a weight to it. So I'm an energy reader. So I read the energy. I read based on how it makes me feel, any visuals I get, maybe any information that comes along with it. But what's important to understand about timelines and about energy is that nothing is really fixed. We're consistently moving. And why is that? Because of free will, because we are dealing with all of us. Yes, we're all connected, but all of us are individually making choices and doing things that change the structure and the timeline of what is coming. So there's many different potentials, right? So we've got a roadmap, we've got a destination, but not everybody has to take the exact same road to get to a destination. So some destinations are going to be more fixed because there's more energy on it, or there may be more of a, we'll say, divine plan to it. So something that is very likely based on soul contracts or based on whatever it is that needs to happen. But how we get to that point can be multiple different ways. Okay, so with the current times, and we've really been dealing with this emergence of these different timelines, these higher timelines since 2012. So in 2012, we started to become more aware of the higher timeline that is available. Now, the way
Yeah.
that it has been shown to me is that we have been bouncing between, and I'm going to say collectively, because remember, each one of us, we have our individual timeline. So I'm going to break it down for a moment. We've got the timeline that our reality. So myself, Michelle, my reality, I have a timeline that I can go out and kind of project and look at the quantum possibilities of the things that I'm doing. And then I've also got, so that's my main timeline, okay? But I've also got this vibrational frequency of my choices, my reactions day to day. And so to affect the major timeline, so the big one, I have to kind of keep track of where this vibrational quality is each and every day to make a difference in the major timeline. So now when we look at this collectively, so think about every individual, we all have the same thing. So we're all moving vibrationally and creating and experiencing our own timeline. But we're also within an experience of a collective timeline. So things that we're experiencing collectively, right? And so these would be the things that we are experiencing that we're all part of. And so whenever you hear somebody say, well, what could I do to make a difference in what's happening in the world? Well, we're all part of that timeline. We're all part of the collective system. So if everybody were to say, well, who cares and just do whatever, well, it's still happening. It's still creating. So what we have as power within all of us is to make choices that align best with us, because that's going to mirror the very best in the collective timeline as well. We may not always see how we are affecting it. We may not know, but we are all part of it. So I've seen how we've had the, we'll say the bigger timelines, the collective timelines. And what's been shown to me over the past couple of years is there's been two that I can see, and then I see kind of like a neutral timeline. So we will move in and out, kind of, because you don't really go from like one to another. We shift, we move, we shift. And so you can kind of see what's been happening really the past 2 years. And of course, the big movement was around 2020 when we had all the COVID stuff come in and all of those experiences. We could see how things were really shifting. And that is based on the reaction of the collective. So, because every action has a reaction. So you're seeing things in reality starting to shift and change. Coming up to this year, we have all known, and we talked about this in, I think it was in our either December or January mentorship night. We talked about us being in a completely new time, how things are moving very quickly. So I'm sure, Maren, you've noticed it. We talked about it, how fast everything is moving. Like, I can't even begin to tell you. It's like I'm at the end of the month already. Like, I'm starting to plan for my next month. I can't believe it. Like, it's just happening so quickly. As I'm saying that, I'm getting a lot of, are you feeling some high, like I'm getting some tones coming from the female side, some really high
Oh my
vibration.
gosh, my female side too. My
Yeah.
eyes started twitching and I was like, not
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. I'm like, what's going on here? Just as I'm talking, I can feel it all coming in. So something's going on here while we're talking. But anyway, so here we are now. What we are experiencing is we are experiencing more of our collective timelines showing up in our reality. So we're starting to really see things happen. So we're seeing the manifestation of a lot of our choices and the manifestation of what we have spoken of for so long, which is a lot of these things that have been beneath the surface are coming up and rising to the top, and they're coming up through different scenarios and situations. Particularly what we had just spoken of, the attempted assassination. Now, let's look at that for just 1 second, because there's a break in the timeline right there. And what I saw very clearly was, as that happened, there is a timeline split of there being an assassination that took place. So
Yeah.
there's a timeline break. And if you're listening to this and you're experiencing this the same as us, we're on the timeline that he did not expire. He did not leave. Okay. So
So there's
it's
a
kind of
whole
crazy,
nother
surreal to
timeline
think about
going.
it.
Is there a
Yeah.
whole nother timeline going on where
Yes.
he did
Yes.
get assassinated?
Yes. Yes.
That'll blow your
So,
mind. Okay.
yeah. So there's a parallel timeline. So think about, if you want to look at how would that be in your own life, think about times in your life where there have been major change, major decision. So some of the things that are smaller, they may not be a full timeline, so it might break off and kind of meld into something else. So it's not necessarily, we've got 20 different versions happening at one time, but there are timeline splits that take place, and energy cannot be destroyed. It's not destroyed. So it's going to exist. And I don't know the best way to explain it, because a lot of this information that comes into me is through feeling, through knowing, and visual. A lot of the visuals. That's why I do a lot of artwork, to understand some of
Yeah.
the concepts and things that come in, so that I can really get a grip on it. Like, okay, how is this working? How is this happening? But we usually feel it, and a lot of people have felt this split or this shift. Another thing is, you're likely experiencing a lot of synchronicity with numbers. A lot of numbers that are revving up. What other types of things are happening? Get ready, everybody. If you have been working on yourself, working on your healing path, if you've been putting out these calls to the universe of show me the way, show me the next step, get ready for it, because that's what's happening. So be really mindful about what you're asking for. Be really
That's exciting.
mindful. It's very exciting. But if you're asking for help, get ready for that help. And keep in mind, it may not always come in the way that you think it will. So be clear. And I say this not as anything to be fearful of, but ask for it in such a way of, if you're asking for help for something, let's say you've got a situation that needs to change, ask for it to happen in the most peaceful way possible. Because sometimes the way that energy is directed, it will come in hard and fast and blow things apart to get the job done, basically. So
Yeah.
remember that you're not dealing with, we're speaking of universal energy. It is listening to you and takes the most direct path. It takes the easiest way to get the job done. So not everything happens in this, oh, well, we should be careful. Now she wants some change in this situation. She's asking for help. So let's not be too hard on her. Let's make sure that this help comes in nice and easy so she can manage it. That's not how universal energy works. That's not how it works at all. In fact, they're like, oh, she needs help and she's asking for it. She's giving permission. She's just opened the doors, and there's a space right there. We're going to come in and we're going to blast things out of the way so she can get the help that she needs. That's how it translates. So when we're in this quick moving energy, this is to help us. So even the things that happen that could be perceived as, I asked for help and now my whole life is falling apart. I've been looking for help and now my job's been taken away, or I no longer live in this home, or this person has left my life. You have to remember that if anything is changing when you've asked for help, when we are in these expanded timelines, you are being pushed to get to the next best place for you, to get
Yeah.
on with what you're here to do. So anything that's changing was not here to be part of what it is that you're truly doing or where you're headed. So you have to
If you
remember
put
that.
that intention out.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Higher intention, the change
Yes.
that you see, it will be disruptive, but it's for your highest good. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. So, in
Okay.
other words, we're in super interesting times, and these are the times that we've been waiting for. We're experiencing them right now,
Yeah.
right now. So that's exciting.
Okay. So I have questions about how you read energy. That like really stuck out to me how cool that is.
Mhm.
So say for just an example, you have these people and like a group of people and they're going to dinner. And one of the people asks you, "Are we going to have a good dinner?" So
Mhm.
you take that energy and it feels light, airy, nice, right? So you're like, "Yeah, you guys are going to have a good dinner." Right? But then what if on their way to dinner, they get hit by a car? They get a car accident. Now, do you feel the energy of the car accident, or do you have to like expand and say, okay, well, I need to feel this energy and this energy? Or do you feel that car accident already like attached to them? Like, how does that work?
Well, okay, so in a situation like that, it really depends because there's a couple things that end up coming up. So the first thing that came up when you said that is the energy of the people involved. So when you say, are we going to have a good dinner? Well, directly I'm connecting to the person that's asking the question. And the energy goes right to that person has concern. That person has something in their own energy that they are concerned that it's not going to be good. There's some fear that I pick up on. So in how I read energy is what's brought forward to me is always what's sitting in the field of the individual that's asking the question or the individuals that are part of a situation. So sometimes if it is, and I trust this fully, if it's something that needs to come out for someone, if it's a warning, if it can be stopped, then it's going to come out. Be cautious. Don't travel this way. Stay off the highway. Stay off the bridge. Something like that may come out. On the other hand, let's say, because things do happen, accidents do happen, but sometimes an accident is something that needs to happen to, say, unfold a certain emotion, unfold a
Do
situation,
the change, right?
do the change. And so for those reasons, that might not come forward. What may come forward is starting to question, the energy is focusing on that person that's got some fear because maybe that accident is there to unload something off of that person. So there's never really one way to answer a question like that because the energy will, I allow it to take me through a story. So I allow the energy to take me through kind of an exploration of where the current energy is and then the
So,
projection.
okay. So I remember earlier you said like energy has density. So you feel the weight of something. So that
Yeah.
was kind of for the possible
Oh,
situations.
yeah, yeah.
Could you do that? Like, would it happen where, like, all of a sudden you feel like more weight with one particular person in that group, and you're like, I don't know, something's going on with that person?
Yes.
Then would you be able to distinguish if it's good energy weighing it down or bad energy, or is it typically like how does that work?
Um, I'm thinking back to some maybe some recent ideas or recent times that I've actually gone into the energy with people. So specifically when, because I get a lot of times where people will ask about, say, a situation, like a family situation, and let's say they're trying to identify, um, uh, well, I'll bring one out specifically, somebody that um, suspected that they had a family member that did not pass by natural means.
Ooh,
Okay. And
okay.
so the questioning was really, and they had no idea who was involved, no idea who was there. So what I'm doing in that situation is I'm scanning the energy of that moment in time. So around that person's passing, I'm feeling. So I'll start to feel the heaviness. And the way it shows up to me is I'll get, this is kind of the thing too. It's a blend of other things as well. So, when you're asking questions, you might see in your third eye like a three pop up, or so
Yeah.
I'd be shown that there's three individuals and I feel it. Yes, I can feel there's three, right? And it's just the practice of mixing your knowing with the trust of what visuals you're being given, the feelings you're
Yeah.
being given. It's kind of working those things together. But when you are, like, let's say somebody's giving you, like, can you check the energy of this person? Is this person trustworthy? Okay, so if I put the energy of that individual, and most times the energy becomes present as soon as the person who's asking says, my brother,
Hmm.
my sister, we don't have
Hmm.
to go further. Sometimes I need to ask for a name,
Okay.
or sometimes I have to ask for something fact finding to connect deeper to that individual. But if there is a density, so in the same way that we're feeling a spirit or any energy, if you feel a heaviness, if you feel a spike in the energy, sometimes I'll get a heavy feeling on my left leg, and it's a burning feeling. And that burning feeling is always like manipulation, or something's being held back. And so I notice that feeling because it's come up many different times. And then when I express to the individual that's asking the question, I express to them, you know, have you had problems with this person? Do you suspect this person's not being truthful to you? Do then it would always align to what I was feeling. So you're playing in this field of energy, and you're sensing through the body, through the visuals that you're getting, but you also have the ability when you're asked to ask spirit as well. So there's many times I'll be feeling into something and I'll ask Eric, uh, is there something else about this person or something you can show me? And sometimes I'll get a comment from him. So I'll get, which comes in like thought, I call it thought load, is how it comes in from him. Or sometimes I'll just get a feeling or something visual that will come back, but it will align with what my question is, depending on the situation. Sometimes a person is wanting information and maybe the purpose isn't really for healing. Maybe it's not really
Oh.
for, so you have to remember the intent of the question,
Hmm.
the purpose of why you're asking for it is going to also be the amount of information that comes forward, like what the value. So value to value.
Hmm.
High value questions are going to get high value answers, right? Does that make sense?
Gosh, that's so crazy. Like all energy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It does.
It is.
That's
Energy
wild.
is fascinating, and that's all there is. That's all there is. Everything is energy. And so we are in a
Yeah.
playground every day of sensing energy, and energy is a language. It's a language. So
Yeah.
when you are working to understand your own energy, everything is a map, right? It's all an energetic map. So you're consistently checking in. And if you're not looking at the world in that way, if you're not experiencing the world in that way, you're going to experience the world in other ways, like the language that you hear, the conscious language, or the signals that you see. So it's like there's the energy is what's behind. The energy is what is the truth. And the truth doesn't mean that there is awareness, but when you practice the energy of things, you can then feel the truth into it. This is why it's so important to be on your healing journey, and why it's so important to have self-awareness, to understand what you believe and your feelings, and to always be in that space of learning more. Because if you are rigid in your beliefs, if you are not in a place of being able to be in neutrality when you are working with energy, then you will start to mix your own feelings in with it. So it takes time to work
Mm-hmm.
through these things and to practice it so that you can be a
Mm-hmm.
clear communicator. So whether you're dealing with
Mm-hmm.
physical energy that is living and breathing, or you're dealing with non-physical energy, or you are dealing with emotional energy, mental energy, whatever you are dealing with. And even the word psychic, I know I use it and many of us use it, but it's not, it's predictions are potentials. They're potentials based on where energy is today and where it is in the projected future. And so
Yeah.
some things are like, this is most likely to happen because it's a very high potential. And this over here is very unlikely. However, the reason why we have the ability to be able to do that is because we have free will. So just because something might say that's the potential based on where you are today, well, that power is put back into your hands when you hear that, because now you have the knowledge. And if you're being given the knowledge, that means you have the ability to influence it and to change the outcome. And that's the beautiful part about our reality. It's not fixed. Nothing's set in
Yeah.
stone.
Wow. Well, okay. Um, so timelines. So we're in a higher timeline now, you think?
Yeah.
It's interesting
Yeah.
because did we talk like a few weeks ago, a month ago or something about timeline? I don't know if we did this on air, off air, but I was listening to that podcast, remember? And she said there's three timelines. There's the timeline where there's the timeline where like we all become super spiritual and like we kind of like ascend.
Yeah.
And then there's like the neutral timeline, but it
Yeah.
becomes
Yes.
very like
Mhm.
we separate spirituality and like health, right? So it's like we become like super pharmaceutical. And
Yeah.
then there was like the timeline where it's like we explode the world and the earth like, ceases to
Yeah.
exist.
Hmm.
And so it's interesting. You said three timelines too. Now, are yours less dramatic of differences, or are you seeing like, is that what you mean by timelines?
Yes. So,
Yes, as in yours are less dramatic, or yes, or those are the timelines?
I'm trying to see, are they less dramatic? I don't know. Maybe I'm not focusing on that part as much. I wouldn't say that
Okay.
they're necessarily less dramatic. Um, if I were to say it this way, um, we moved away from a timeline where the world implodes itself quite a while ago.
Okay, good.
Um, because now, is there a timeline where humanity doesn't do as well? Yes. Um, but that's not a timeline that is standing in front of me right now that's like an available timeline. the ones that I'm speaking of that I actually see two timelines that look neutral like, and the one that we've moved up into has a very like a lot of awakening, great
Okay.
deal of awakening,
Okay.
and unexpected turns of events. And I don't even know how to put that into words. Like, I'm sure we could go into different parts of it and ask questions. Um, but the way that it feels to me is things that were not expected to happen, very unlikely from unlikely people, people coming forward that may have a lot of influence in the world that, and I'm not necessarily meaning people that have like that everyone's looking at as negative suddenly looks in a different light, but it could have some of that type of thing to it. But I'm seeing a lot of spiritual awareness in this timeline. Um, there's also now you have to remember too, with every timeline, there's still polarity. So we're not like there's always going to be polarity. So with
Okay.
every timeline, it has many vibrational chords within it,
Okay.
right? So you can be on a timeline and you can have some people experiencing a completely different vibration within that timeline as well, right? Because nothing is this linear, everybody's on one. But the other thing is too that's just coming up is uh seeing people that have passed or that we like this the Mandela effect basically is the best way to explain it. Um People that many collectively have seen in the news, and I'm speaking of more famous people that have we perceived as past
Oh
and
yeah.
are now being announced as passing. Like
Yeah.
that kind of thing is coming up quite a bit. That will tell you that you're on a new timeline.
Wasn't that
Um,
like Bob Barker or something? Like everybody they
I
announced
know
Bob Barker's death and
Bob
everyone was
Barker
like, "Wait,
passed.
he already died." Yeah.
I know, I know. I was one of
Yeah.
those. I'm like, no, I know because I remember. I remember something, watching something that was showing him saying, "Remember to have your pet spayed and neutered." And I remember this a long time ago, and they were like announcing his passing. And then when he passed, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute here. Like, is this old? And I actually checked the date on it when I saw it because I thought I was seeing something old and it was new. I was like, that's crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, those things are good indicators of timeline shifts. Um, but the other thing too is it's our memories. So many of us will have things come up like have someone in our family tell us something that just happened. And we'll be like, wait a minute, that happened like a year ago. Or didn't that already happen? Like it's just these little nuances of things. Many of us will notice those type of things if we haven't already. Um, but I'm not really there's a lot of focus on spiritual shifting. And I am also getting uh, technology, medical technology, a lot coming through with medical technology. And I'm going to throw this out here too, because I'm getting a lot of communication, like ET communication. So if we
Oh,
start to look into 2026, that's what feels
okay.
real strong with the ET communication. So I don't know how that will come in, but I'm not meaning so much on an individual or community basis. I mean something that feels a little bit more collective, that feels like
Wow.
a
Okay.
lot of people, sorry to spit, a lot of people have awareness too. So there's
Okay.
something else on this timeline with that as well. 2026 with that. It could be 2025, end of 2025. But yeah, there's something there with that too.
Wow. That's wild. So do
And we'll
you
see six
think,
signals of this as well.
so when you talk about like miracles and stuff, like everybody's like, well, Trump, turned his head at the exact moment to miss the bullet, and that's a miracle, or angels saved him, or whatever. So does it fall more under the category of miracle or timeline shift, or is it a miracle and that shifts our timeline? Like, how does that work?
There's divine energy to that. There's divine energy there.
Okay.
And so it's
I mean, there
both.
has to be. That's a
Yeah.
little too
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. There's I remember another medium said a very long time ago, this would be 10 years ago now, said to me in a group setting, said to us as a group that Trump was going to have a walk-in.
I picked up on that too. I literally picked up on that
Yeah.
because I mean, I honestly, we've been traveling, so we haven't watched the news. So I haven't been able to like really see anything publicly, but there
Yeah.
is a lot of hearsay that he is different now. And I wondered if he
Interesting.
had a walk in. Yeah.
So there is something to that event. And so think about a near death experience, right? Think about a
Mm-hmm.
near death experience, and if you kind of go into the purpose of a near death experience, whether that person shares that, and many do eventually share their experience or not, there's usually some significant change that happens. A lot of times, a walk in will happen with a near death experience. And what Trump experienced is that's a near death experience. So
So it
even though,
is like he
mm,
was near death, but he didn't like ever pass out or anything. I would feel
no,
like you would need to like pass out to have a swap, but I mean, I have heard other people that
but no, and I do channeling with there's actually a couple people that I do with that are writing books, but the book is on my website with a professor from UCLA that I do channeling with, and I have for several years now. And she's wrote a memoir, and she's also writing it's a trilogy. And I don't want to give away the whole. You have to read the story to really understand it. Also, I want to give it away for anyone who wants to read it. But we do talk quite a bit about the walk-in experience, and we learned through spirit that a walk-in does not have to happen in one way, that there are different
okay.
ways that a walk-in can occur, and sometimes it is a swapping of souls, and sometimes it's a blending or an essence of another soul. And so there's a lot of things that like the rules and regulations are not hard. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not
Yeah, they're not like you
these
have to do
stiff,
this
it only
to, yeah.
happens this way. And another example would be, um, I'm sure I've talked about this before, like with my parents' dog. And there's been so
Oh,
many other pets that
yeah.
have come through and talked about this in the same way. So a lot of people be like, well, I don't understand how, you know, this new dog that I have is just like my old dog, but this dog was living. Like, so my dog passed, and then all of a sudden, this new dog I got is doing the same things as my old dog. And so, if you look at the timing, like with my parents, for example, their dog passed, and they very soon after got this other dog that is almost identical. The dog they got, right down to the tricks and the commands and the things that dog already knew how to do. It was just unbelievable. And how does that happen? Well, what was explained to me is it's the soul, the essence of that spirit. It's almost like it does a little, not a full exchange. It's not an exchange. It's more like a blending. It's like part of that energy is with that other dog because they come from the same higher soul, the same higher self. So there's a lot of things that happen that because our brains think very linear and because we
Yeah.
think in terms of if one's in, one must be out, but
Yeah.
that it doesn't always happen that way.
That's so
So
interesting that you say that because I feel like that's what happened with my dog. So I had my very first dog was like, I call her my soul traveler. Like I swear
yeah,
she's been with me through so many different lives. And I asked
yeah,
about it and I saw like the horse and like I know that she's been an animal through all my life, or I don't know
yeah,
if she could have been a human, but she's definitely been a companion my whole
yeah,
all my lives. And anyway, so she passed away, and then we went like 2 years without a dog. And then my husband surprised me with our dog we have now that everybody's met. And like the first like 2 weeks, I was like, like why this one? Like I don't know if you picked the right one, you know? And then one night I was like out with him trying to get him to go to the bathroom, and he looked at me, and I was like, Bella? Like I could just, it was like something in the eyes
yeah,
changed.
yeah,
And like we've been inseparable ever since. And I swear he's my dog reincarnated. And my family laughs because he's a good sized dog, you know? But
yeah,
he was afraid to go up and down the stairs because Bella was a 2 pound Yorkie. So she couldn't go up and down the stairs, you
yeah,
know? Or she
yeah.
could, but it was like hard. And he was like afraid to do that. He doesn't know how to jump into the car, like to go for car rides. Like I have to pick him up and put him in the car.
He's so big.
He didn't know that he could like jump on and off of the bed. And I know like, you know, puppies, they are a little, it takes them a minute, but he was like it's more than it took him a minute. He was like, no, I can't do that because
Yeah.
he was, you know, a little
Aw,
2 pound dog in his past life.
aw,
So yeah, like
yeah,
even we just went out of town. My mom texted me. She's like, "Is isn't it like really weird?" Now he'll jump on and off the bed, but it's still, it's like we have to be like, "No, you could do it. You can do it," you know. And so my mom texted me and she's like, "It's really weird that he can jump on my bed, but he can't jump in the car." And I'm like, "Yep, that's my dog. That's
yeah,
Bella."
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's quite amazing. Um, and I mean, that is, I've had so many really cool stories with people about their pets and, what they go through with the crossing and then the new animal that comes into their life. And it's just, there's been so many stories, like you can't not believe it because there's
mhm,
just so many coincidences. My little
mhm,
dog is here and she is my poodle Tiffy that passed away. This is Tiffy, and I'm sure of it because my little dog, um I got her right before I got diagnosed with cancer. So she was my little companion all through cancer. But her demeanor, just those little, like the way that Bella would look at you, and you saw that in
mhm,
Luke. Like it's just a
mhm,
certain way that they look and a certain look in her eyes.
mhm.
And Tiffy had these little curly eyelashes, and she's got the same little curly eyelashes. Like it's
Oh,
just there's just all these little things. But my parents' dog is so funny because their dog Walter or Wally, it was a certain way that he would lay with his leg and sit. Like just a very strange way that he twists his leg, and this dog does the same thing, the exact same thing.
that's so
Like
weird. Yeah.
very specific things. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
So it's uh pretty amazing when you understand that, as hard as it is, because we love our animal family, our fur family so much, but it is so heartwarming to know that they continue to join us, that they come
mhm,
back, and they have different experiences with us in different bodies
mhm.
at different times in our life. And when we know it, we can ask for it, we can work with it, we can gain a lot of insight from them, because that's a whole other topic in itself, how healing our animals are, and how special that connection is.
The animal bond. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle. This was a really
You're
good
welcome.
topic. So I'm
Yeah,
excited that we've changed timelines, hopeful
I'm
for
glad we're
our
on the same
future.
timeline.
Yeah, I know.
See, maybe
Seriously.
that's why everything had to happen last week. Maybe we were adjusting ourselves, all the technical difficulties that we had, and that maybe we
I
were,
wonder if it was the build up to
yeah,
the new timeline.
yeah,
Yeah,
very well could
I
be.
believe that
Yeah,
because we've
yeah.
not had one issue
No,
this
no,
recording.
we've had no
Don't, where's the
problems.
wood? Where's the wood?
Yeah, no kidding. I know. But no, it's been fine today, and actually last week, with the exception of the worldwide technical problem that we had, I didn't have any problems. So technically, everything went perfect.
Yeah, good.
All
Well,
right, everybody.
we will see you guys again next week. It was a great discussion as always. I'm so glad to catch up with you. It's
Oh,
the best day when I get to talk to you. So
same
thank you
here.
so
Me too.
much.
I couldn't even talk. I was like, snail. I mean, same. All right. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Bye.
Bye.